Live. Hi, it's Chris Simon from Phoenix RIA. It is our Red Room call, 2 o'clock every Tuesday, and we are here with the co-host Luke over here, and we are here with Benson from Privy. And I got introduced last week, and I did a quick just intro. He did a quick intro for me on his data and his software. And it's a game changer. And I just got to show you a little 30-minute video or presentation from him about it. And he doesn't have data everywhere, but for the data he does have and the metrics he has and all that goes along with it, it is definitely something that can change your game. Because obviously, if you are like everybody else, and maybe you're a letter writer here in Phoenix and you send out 10,000 letters, you're going to get maybe 20 calls back, right? You're going to get that 0.002. Or if you're a cold caller like Luke, you're going to dial for dollars, and just Phoenix is just a very, very saturated market. So there's lots of people out there. I know Carson and Artie in Phoenix, Arizona decided to, just flat drop out of Phoenix and are in, I think, 5 or 6 virtual markets. And they just say it's easier because there's not quite as many people doing it as they are in Phoenix, Arizona. So with that, I'll kind of let Benson jump in here. Hopefully I did a good introduction, but that's, we just met last week. But I was so impressed. I'm like, you got to jump on Tuesday. So.
Heck yeah.
I appreciate it. This is cool. I love doing stuff with operators, right? There's a lot of people out there that are better at selling programs and coaching and courses than they are doing deals. And, they've got value to add too. It's just that when you're working with operators, it's just a whole different level. And so that's why it's cool to be with you guys here today. But personally, I've been in the business for over 20 years. Started out in the lending side of the business. I was actually active duty Air Force, listening to
Heck yeah. Thank you
Carlton
for your service,
Sheets.
Benson.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I listened to Carlton Sheets CDs on post, and then just educating myself. And then I started going. I was slinging mortgages during the day as I was working at the base at night, and just cranking extra cash. And next thing you know, I was doing my own deals, and I got licensed. And now I've been in the business for a long time. And one of the co-owners of Privy, we're a real estate investment software platform. We help real estate investors, agents, anybody who's kind of like a stakeholder in that whole ecosystem, get access to better data for running comps. Very simple things. We think we take advantage of it, but also like doing high level analytics, tracking markets. Get a better intel on markets. Chris, you were just talking about doing stuff virtually. Like, how would you even do that, right? Like, from Phoenix to another market, it's difficult, right? And there's a lot of like mental blocks and barriers that prevent people from feeling comfortable going in and doing stuff in a whole new market. And so one of the things that we figured out early on is when we got access to the data, we could curate it and make it useful in a way where you can get local market intelligence. So you can be like an expert in a short amount of time. Whereas in the olden days, 5 years ago, you had to actually be out an operator in that market to be able to understand like where the hot areas are at, what to buy a property for, who are the players in the area, like who is people doing activity, who are the active agents that have pocket listings, all that stuff. You would have had to be 10 years in the business to even be scratching the surface. But with the data that we have now, we're able to get you up to speed much more quick, shorten your learning curve, and then actually be effective at doing things effectively in your own backyard, whether it's in Arizona or whether it's Philadelphia or Los Angeles or Denver or Dallas. Like, the sky's the limit. And Chris, you mentioned something about the data, and there's different levels of data, right? So one of the things that makes us different than what a lot of people know that's out there, like a batch leads or a prop stream, we've all got the same, what we call third-party data, the third-party MLS. It's this kind of mid-level data that it's not updated very often. There's over 600 MLSs. I mean, if you can believe that, that's crazy. So it's there's no national MLS to where you can go and just sign up, and now you've got the best data everywhere,
Yep.
which is why everybody gets this third party, which again is delayed. There's no photos, no proper descriptions. If you're in a non-disclosure state, like I mean, you can get screwed. Like in Maricopa County, there's no bedroom data. They won't let us show
Yeah.
bedrooms,
Right.
right? So like,
Bathroom fixtures
yeah,
and rooms.
it's weird, right? So there's certain markets like that, but if we do end up getting direct to MLS data there, which is what we do above and beyond what our competition is doing, we can get past all that stuff. So currently in the in the Arizona market, we've launched Tucson, and we're working on some of the other major cities. But we have 60 plus markets already live with direct to MLS data. So major markets like Southern Los Angeles, Chicago, all of like 4 markets in Florida, Philadelphia, Baltimore.
Heck yeah.
There's just tons and tons of markets. Like there's way more to handle, but where I've actually planted my flag was in St. Louis. So I've been doing virtual deals in St. Louis. I've still never been there, and having closings.
Don't you love saying that?
I do love saying. I almost don't want to go. Like I've been planning a trip there, and I've just kind of been pushing it out a little bit more because it's still fun to say I haven't been there before. But now that I've got actual properties there that I've decided to keep, I need just to get my butt out there and look at them.
So Benson, quick question: what was kind of one of the main deciding factors that brought you to St. Louis?
Well, a few things. The first thing was this idea of investor activity. So what we're able to do with all of our transaction data, because we've got public record, like county record data information, right? Like owner information, mortgage information, deed data, all of the off-market leads like foreclosures, absentee owners. So we can track a sale from whether it was purchased off-market or on-market to when it was relisted and sold in a flip, right? So we can do that nationwide. In the last 12 months, rolling back from today, there's about 220,000 flips that have happened nationwide where they bought it, fixed it up, and sold it.
Right.
And the percentage of the ARV was lower than 75%.
Okay.
That number could go up or down depending upon the market, but it's a good kind of idea of like where this activity is in general.
For sure. Makes sense.
So I targeted St. Louis because it's one of the most high investor activity areas in the Midwest.
Cool.
Chicago is higher. It's about a third higher. The only thing that's even maybe that's probably the other one that's highest in the area. Indianapolis is pretty good. Kansas City's pretty decent. Oklahoma City's pretty good.
How was Louisville?
I don't know about Louisville. We'll pull it up. Actually, I don't track that as closely as other markets because we don't have direct to MLS data there.
Okay.
But we can show you all the activity. It's just that on the back end, I can't show you the before and the after pictures because I don't have the MLS. But we can look at it, and it's pretty active actually, if I remember correctly.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
But so that tracking will help you do deals anywhere, even our non-direct MLS. It's just that when you go to do comping, you don't have those great photos, and it doesn't update as often.
Right. That makes sense. That's cool. So we have a little bit of history in in doing some virtual wholesaling. So exactly what Chris was talking about when things were getting super competitive. This was like probably, it's been super competitive for a while, but I'm talking probably 5 years ago. We actually started doing stuff in Northern Arizona. That's where I'm originally from. So Prescott, Flagstaff, Prescott Valley, stuff like that. Ben, so where are you from? Like, where do you live now?
Denver.
Okay. So are you familiar with like the Prescott area or no?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a small city, 2 hours north of Phoenix. Tri-City is there's about 100,000 people there. So we started doing stuff there, but we were traveling, going to the area, and then we started doing really well there, and kind of gave us an idea. We're like, you know what? Let's just try another market. So we tried. The reason I asked about Louisville is because we jumped over to Louisville. I had a cousin.
Go?
So it was interesting. So I have a cousin that was he lives in Louisville, and he was mentioning he'd like to kind of get his feet wet a little bit and see if we could try to make something happen there. So we're like, yeah, screw it, why not? We'll try it out. So we started pulling lists there. We didn't know anything about it. All we had to go off of was what he told us of the areas that he knows. He's like, listen, these zip codes are war zones. Like, do not buy anything in these areas. And we were finding out because, I mean, when we were making, cold calls and kind of getting some leads back, we were finding, you'd have sellers that were like, yeah, I'd sell you this property, and they'd be willing to sell them for like, $7,000 for a single family home. And you're just like, what? How's that?
Who wants to sell it?
Yeah, exactly. We're like, how are we getting so many people who are interested in selling us these properties for, 10, 15, 20 grand? And we were finding out that they're basically in these areas that are considered like, after 3 p.m. you don't go down these streets, which is like wild. You know what I mean? We're not used to that, but it was pretty crazy. But anyway, so I mean, we kind of dabbled there. And what we ended up doing, this is for us, this was our virtual wholesaling 5 years ago. This is how we did it, is we basically ended up finding a boots on the ground guy. And then that was, he knew, we reached out to some, local real estate groups and stuff like that. This guy came around, his name was Cameron. He helped us kind of like, kind of get a better idea of these areas. He kind of helped us underwrite some deals to a certain extent. We were doing a lot of comping on Zillow, just editing the whatever, the bedrooms, bathrooms, time sold, 6 months, whatever it was. So we were going about it that route. And so it was obviously, like you're saying, it was not super accurate, but it was all we had at the time.
How'd you guys do? Did you close deals?
We did. We had a little stretch there where we had probably about a year where we were doing about 5 deals a month in Louisville, awesome, which was kind of crazy. And the reason we ended up dipping back out of there though was because we were spending the same amount for our calling team and our marketing and everything as we were here, and our average wholesale there was about $7,000 because the houses are just so much they're so much cheaper. You know what I mean? You'd talk about like we'd look at a house and it'd be like, oh man, the ARV on this thing is like 160, and it would be like a 2,500 square foot sick house for like 160, 180, and that's just, we're not used to that here. And so when you got like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 wholesales, and then you're looking at these guys are willing to flip these properties for like 22 grand regularly to do like a full renovation and make like 20, 25 grand. Just the amount of time that we were spending on it versus the amount of time that we were spending on our market here, where our average wholesale last year was 38,000. Our average flip is around 55.
He steals them. He just steals them from people.
That is a really high amount. That's good though, man.
But so that's why we
kind of got your market kind of dialed in, right? Like you know who your buyers are, right, exactly what your margins are.
But yeah, so it was a fun period for sure. But I mean, we'd definitely be down to jump into more virtual wholesaling in different states and different cities. But again, for us, that main reason for that city was just because the wholesale amounts were pretty low. So.
Oh yeah. That's pretty cool though. You mentioned these war zones, and I took a call. Somebody called in one time, and he saw one of my videos on our YouTube channel, and I was talking about Chicago, and I was actually in Privy using Chicago, and I was showing them like all the investor activity in these areas, and he called in. He's like, "Man, I don't appreciate you, lying about our market." And I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, you were showing all this activity going on in Southside Chicago." He's like, "I'm from there. I know that's not what's going on." I'm like, "You want to bet?" So I actually knew more about this market than he did, and he's from there. He actually lives in a little, probably like 4 or 5 miles north of there. He had no idea. Some of the best markets in the U.S. are these war zones. This is where the gentrification's happening.
Yep.
This is like right now, the hottest area in all of Southern California is this area called the Four Corners. It's where the 105 and the 110 cross. The upper upper left-hand quadrant is where the SoFi Stadium is. Inglewood.
Okay.
USD, that area.
Yeah.
Opposite that is where Compton and Watts are, which you would never go in, right? Remember the riots back in the day with Rodney King? That was right in those neighborhoods. Those are some of the hottest fix and flip areas in the whole country right now.
That's crazy.
And you can still find deals there. Like you can find a house in that area for $300,000 to $400,000 and still have ARVs in the $700,000 range.
Wow.
And you just never would have guessed it. But that's the cool thing about the data. it tells you the story. You
Right,
know the
right.
story without having to be there. Now, you mentioned boots on the ground. That's a key part of being able to do due diligence. And what I used is an agent. So I partnered up
Okay.
with an agent that I found in St. Louis by going through all the closed fix and flip deals. And I was just looking at the agents that were representing the flippers.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I found like half a dozen that were like active. Started calling
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
2 or 3 were like hot and heavy. And then eventually I got it down to the one now who's just my rock star agent there. And she goes and takes videos for me. She walks the property, tells me if there's a tree growing through the middle of it.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
like the only house in the neighborhood that anyone would ever buy, or is it like up and coming?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I've been successful in closing several deals with her.
Heck
And
yeah.
and I feel comfortable. Like she has all my lock boxes now. She just does. She's connected me with all of my contractors and my junk removal people, and it's
Nice.
all because of her, right? And you can find them by leveraging the data.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. So
Isn't the tree through the middle of the house? Isn't that called an atrium?
It
yeah.
is, yeah. You got to build a glass case
Yeah.
around it.
Those are highly, highly sought after.
I know. Yeah, I don't think they planned that tree, but anyway.
Anyway, you want to give us a little show on the? I don't know. I mean, we don't know if we've had a screen share on our little episode. So see if you can share your screen, and then I can toggle the.
Yeah, it's looking like I can do it. Let me
All
just
right.
Heck yeah.
gonna do
Then
that
Benson,
infinite mirror
I had
thing.
another question for you then. So are you still are you buying properties that you are not having people walk? Like, will you do that, or are you making sure that you have someone walk it before you do buy it?
I would buy sight unseen if I didn't have her, but I do.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
so now it's like I don't have to go down that path unless I was
For
going to start
sure.
fresh from a new market. But my very first step was finding an agent. Like I did that while I was building my buyers list concurrently. Like I was doing that at the same time. So I didn't want to have to go buy a property sight unseen.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
just think it's a better way, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. So add to the stream. Boom.
There it is.
Voila.
You guys can see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So this is Privy. This is a heat map, and it's a kind of it's a legend of where our data comes from. So we've got this third party and then this public record data that I mentioned earlier, like prop stream level data nationwide. So that's all the yellow and the gray. The blue and the red is our direct to MLS data contracts. So that's where we've already negotiated direct to MLS data, same data as an appraiser or what an agent would use, but it isn't the MLS. It's way better. Like I'm an agent, and way back when we built this platform, we built it because the MLS sucks. It's not good for comping. It's not good for finding deals. It's not good for tracking markets. It's basically just a listing database for agents, and then they can come back and do some comps in there, but it's all manual. So we got a raw data feed now. So we can run an algorithm that's tracking the entire market for investor activity. It's building a comparative market analysis, like a full CMA for every single property in the US 24/7, and it updates live. Now, live in Nebraska might be twice a week, but live in
Right.
St. Louis is multiple times an hour. And I told you about the investor activity. This is where we run the live numbers at the top. So if I click this button right here, it says fix and flip. It's going to plot on the map where every single fix and flip has happened in the last 12 months. And then we can better choose the markets we want to go to. Because we all know that when you're measuring a deal based off of a percentage of the after repair value, you literally can't prove ARV if you don't have really good
Mhm.
comps.
Right. Right.
So why would you go look for deals in South Dakota?
Because there's no competition there. No.
But you're exactly right. That's what the normal person would say. Well, I'm trying to avoid competition.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, if you don't want competition, well, you got no comps.
Yeah,
Right?
you have no houses.
They're one and the same. Comps might as well mean competition and comps,
Right. Right.
right? So when you zoom in here to the different areas, then you can see where that higher investor activity is. The larger the circle, the higher the number, the more deals that have been done. And this is in the last 12 months. So in the filter right here, you can kind of see where this was set. So 75% of the ARV, that's based off of what they bought it at and then what they finally sold it for.
Wow. So you can adjust that.
You can adjust it.
So you can even see where people are buying them really deep too. Then.
You can.
Wow.
Now, my goal is to find the ones that are buying higher, right? Because if they're willing to go higher and they don't need to get a home run on every deal, and they're more realistic about, deal flow,
Yeah.
that's a more high quality buyer for me when I'm wholesaling. And the cool thing is I can see which one's bought from the MLS too.
Right. Someone who's
Because
buying at 90% versus buying at 75%.
That's what
right.
Luke expects on his wholesale deals, 92%.
Chris, you've paid it from time to time. Come on.
So I mentioned like the Midwest, right? Like you were saying that same thing.
Mhm.
Here's Louisville, right?
Right.
So 542, not a ton, right close. So here's St. Louis. You look at Indianapolis, right?
Wait,
So
what's
if
that
I was,
2,500 right there?
that's probably closer to
That's where I need to
Cincinnati.
check out.
Let's see.
Cool.
This
Okay.
will break up a little bit more. So that was around the Cincinnati market.
Interesting. Cool.
So Indianapolis is an area where we've got that was blue before with the direct to MLS data, right? So if we zoom in here, and let's say you wanted to do some things in Indianapolis, well, where would you go? Would you go look for deals? Let's say you lived in Decatur over here. Well, that's where the average person would look because it's what's convenient, right? And when people are new and they don't know, they drive around their house, right? They got an hour between when they get home from work and when the dinner is going to be ready. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to go drive around the house, look for, rundown homes. Well, that would be a mistake because even if they found a rundown house or they could locate somebody who was quote unquote motivated, they're not going to have the buyers. They're not going to have the data to prove after repair value. So if they're smart, they're going to drive up to this part of town.
Yep.
So now I can drill down into this area and then these clusters break up. And so now based off of that, right in here is the hottest area in the last 12 months. And these areas shift right here in this market. So here's every single flip that was closed. And then over here on the left are the actual deals that closed. So if I were to click this property right here,
that's super cool.
North Drexel, this is the comparative market analysis for that house. So we can see the property photos. It's got all the red flags of a fix and flip.
Yeah.
We know it's direct from MLS because we bring this tag front and center. We can see the agent. It was Katie Wilson from Remax who represented the flipper on this deal.
Way to go, Katie.
I want to talk to Katie. She sounds like she knows what she's doing.
That's awesome, though.
So this section down here,
those houses look like model matches nearly.
Oh, I know, don't they?
Well,
this is
this is
before,
the
right?
Before and after.
Oh, it's a before and after. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the before and after. Okay.
It's got the same roof structure, Luke.
Yeah, man, it's exactly the same.
It looks so similar. It's uncanny.
That's super cool. Before and afters too. Wow.
Yeah, so we pull it down. This was an off-market acquisition, right? So they got this direct from seller because we don't have an MLS number here.
Okay.
If they got it from the MLS, we'd know, and then we'd have also the MLS, the agent, the MLS number, and we'd have the pictures. Right here's the price. They bought it for $75,000. They sold it for $145,000.
Oh, cool. There it is. Okay. Awesome.
That was 52% of the after repair value.
Nice.
And then Katie obviously is the agent on this one. And then it was under construction for 44 days. That's from when they purchased it to when they relisted it. 42 days on market. They were in and out of that thing in 86 days.
Even gives you that info. That's super cool.
That was a fast flip, right? So these guys are active, right? So if you're a wholesaler, you want to do business with these guys. Who are they?
Yeah.
CC Homes LLC.
Wow.
So CC Homes LLC is an active buyer who's buying deals in the Indianapolis market, who will buy in 46201, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 945 square foot house.
Take my money, Benson. Take it.
So this is how I built my list, right? You don't want to work with somebody who's just, you met at the RIA or, somebody who's on a Facebook group who's probably just another wholesaler trying to get in the middle of a daisy chain deal. Like these are actual flippers that are executing last week, right? And they're probably looking for another property. So you can learn kind of what their buy box is by looking at these properties, and you can also become that local market expert and then determining like what a deal is in this part of Indianapolis, because it's not the same as Northeast Indianapolis or Chicago or St. Louis or Louisville. It's different. So what most people do are those formulas, right? Like the 70% one, right? 70% times the maximum allowable offer.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
times the ARV minus construction costs equals the MAO, right?
Right.
Well, 9 out of 10 times that actually causes people to offer property or offers that are too low. And the way I look at it is every property is a deal for somebody at the right price. So who's that somebody? Well, through a little bit of research, you can find buyers in this market who
For
are
sure.
willing to go to, 65, 70, 75%. It just depends on the deal.
Well, and you bring up a great point because it's like, you've got some guys where, if they have a big operation, maybe if they got a larger operation and they have say they have a GC that heads every one of their projects, they might have to be at, whatever, 65,000 for a renovation on a property. Where if you've got someone, a husband, wife couple where they do a flip, whatever, they do a flip every couple months, but they do all the work themselves. And they can keep that renovation at 30 grand because they're not paying anyone else. They already bought a ton of supplies or whatever it might be. If they can get it done way cheaper because it's all their own manual labor, exactly that. That's a $35,000 difference. So maybe that's a great deal for this person, but it's not a deal at all for them.
Right. Maybe they're licensed, right? So they don't have to pay the listing agent. So there's another 3% in their pocket.
Exactly.
I mean, you just don't know. But check this one out. This
maybe
one was
Chris is looking to keep it as an Airbnb.
Totally. Look at this. They got this for $51,000 from the MLS. Sold it for $228.
Jeez.
Those are your numbers, Luke.
Percent of the ARV.
They were our numbers about 6 months ago.
This one just closed a week and a half ago. So these deals are out there, right? Like you just need a better way of finding them.
Right.
Now, the data here that this buyer bought it at 22% doesn't help me all that much because everyone would have done that deal, right?
Right, for sure.
But by doing a little bit of research, and this is what we teach with the people who use Privy, is that, number one, we don't just give you the software and kick you out the door and say good luck. We do like training constantly. I'm always teaching people how I use it, how our other people are using it and having success. And one of the very first things is go into your target market and research the last 10 to 20 properties that closed, and then build a profile, like an avatar of a successful deal, who those buyers are, who the agents are. And then you'll be able to, get some people on your list that are, willing to do some business with you. Look at this. This was an off-market deal. They got it 62%. Everybody thinks that everything you get off market is going to be, a home run. They probably made some money on this thing, but when they buy at 62%, that's positive for me because that means if I can find something at 60%, I can make money on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And this is Preston Lane Property Group, LLC, sold that property to the Husleys.
Nice.
Luke, don't you feel like you're a Indianapolis genius in just like 10 minutes?
No joke, right? Perfect. Let's start buying there.
It would be a good market to target. It's a good rental
awesome.
market too. I've heard that there's a lot of good rental areas, Airbnbs. It depends on the area, obviously, but
it's a good looking house. They did a good job on that.
Yeah, I like the contrast with the cold colors and the warm wood.
For sure.
And if you're watching, we have 12 people watching right now. So, just dropped down to 9. Watching right now. If you have any questions, shoot them over.
Absolutely.
The other thing we've got here is the rental data. So these black comps right here, these are the rental comps. So you can get a sense of what the rents are in this area, for other similar properties. So with a little bit of research, you can see how you can get up to speed fairly quickly on the market. You're not going to know everything, but imagine doing the alternative, right? Like how long it took for you guys to get comfortable doing stuff in Louisville way back when. This is kind of the new wave of getting up to speed and educating yourself, learning what a deal is, right? Because just knowing what closed deals looks like way prepares you much better. That next time something comes across your desk, you're like, oh, that's just like the house on Euclid that closed last week.
Yeah.
They sold for $260. They got it at XYZ. That's why this is a deal.
Yeah, and let's give this guy a call because he bought that one and did really well on it. Maybe he's looking for another one.
Right. And now you got your buyers.
That's really cool.
Right.
Yeah, you can see like in literally he shared his screen like 15 minutes in. Maybe we've been doing this for 10 to 15 minutes, but we literally have been through neighborhoods, saw before, afters, purchase prices, sale prices,
Purchasing entity.
purchasing entity, agents that are representing them, LTV of the people that are buying, and we've just been tooling around for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and BSing and having
crazy.
fun. I wish we were having a drink right now while we were doing this.
You guys aren't drinking right now?
He's like, oops.
Yeah.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Right.
So you guys pull a lot of lists, right? So this now would be a good area to target for marketing, because I believe you'll get a better return on investment by marketing to an area like this where you have renovated comparables. Because if you can find a quote unquote motivated seller in this area and they've got a comp that was renovated, you immediately create a margin. Like 20 to 30% just appears out of thin air, as opposed to if it didn't have renovated comps, right? So if we're looking in these areas where there's no flips, well, now you have to submit a lowball offer to make the same margins work in the middle, because that's what you have to lowball. And this is why I think most people they're not understanding it. They're not looking enough steps down the road to think about, should I even look here? If I find a house in this neighborhood, am I going to be able to prove ARV? Am I going to be able to comp and prove to the buyer or to an appraiser what this house is worth? If the answer is no, then don't even spend money there.
Yeah, right.
They're just pouring marketing dollars down the drain. But if you spend your money here and you spend mail to 46201 and this is all 46201, then you're going to get a better ROI, because now when people call you, you can give them an offer that's higher, that still makes the margins work, that they're more willing to accept.
Right.
Now, let's say I wanted to pull a list of buyers here. Let's say, buyers or sellers, absentee owners, right? If I do an absentee owner search here, well, they might want to sell, they might want to buy. And we give 10,000 free leads per month with our service. So just go ahead and run this. So here's all of the absentee owners for this area. There's just a ton. Right?
Oh, wow.
So this is 1,716. And then you can export this list. So if I were to export this, it'll put it into a CSV file. And it looks just like this. So here's the CSV. It exports it with the property info, some property details, the owner information here, either LLCs. And then we also export our link to the comparative market analysis. So this link right here is a live CMA. So if I were to put this in my CRM, and then maybe I finally get a hold of somebody after 6 months, well, all I got to do is click this link, and it takes me to the most updated version of that comparative market analysis with today's comps.
Look at that, Luke. Your cold callers don't even have to go off screen to call the house.
I like that. That's crazy.
Huge time savers. So that's there. And then of course you could run this through a skip trace. We don't currently do skip tracing, but if you use like Batch or Lead Sherpa or some other company, then you could go ahead and find contact information for your dialers, your cold callers, and then they could take it from there. So that's this piece of it. But what I like is doing on market. So all those deals I told you about in St. Louis that I'm doing are all on market wholesale deals.
Right.
Wow. Some of them I've kept as kind of as rentals because the numbers were just too good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But once I run this, I have this button right here. So we've got a patent pending on our reverse REI strategy. It basically uses these houses as a model for what a successful deal looks like. And then it reverse engineers it. And it says, hey, here's all the closed deals. Find me stuff I can buy today. It's at similar margins. Now, in that button, it's set to 75, but remember we found that person that was at 62%.
Right.
Let's set this at 60. And then let's say we don't want to pay more than 150 grand. Maybe we talked to that buyer and they said, yeah, 150, that's where we want to be. So now I can run this search
Oh, wow.
And now it's showing me houses that are available today that I can buy that match that deal criteria.
Yeah, active on the market.
Yep. So this house right here,
Right.
129 grand. We flag this property as a deal. It's because it's in an area where there's 3 comps. 2 of them were fix and flipped.
Yep.
This one sold for 252. This one sold for 256.
And they're asking 129.
They're asking 129.
So you come in and offer them 85,000 is what I do.
Well, that might work, right?
No,
But here's the
exactly.
thing. We got a
But
buyer
that's
that we
even
know
that
will go
number
to
right there makes
62%.
sense. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
So
Luke wants to buy it at 25 and sell it at 90 and do nothing to it.
Hey, you know what? What I want to do and what we end up doing most of the time are two different things. All right.
So let's say you came in at 115. All right, let's just pretend. So 115 grand, it's below, we're trying to get ourselves even more margin. Let's say they accept it, right? Well, if they accept it at 115, then we just got it at, let's say 250 is the ARV. So we got it at 46%, right? We know we got at least one buyer that'll go up to 62%. That's what is that? For 26%?
Yeah.
16% or 20?
16% difference.
16% difference, right? Now, obviously, we're not going to take that whole amount. You might. It's sounding more and more like you're just raping your buyers.
Yeah, we might be able to take that.
But let's say you gave it to them at asking price, right? You made 15 grand. They're like, man, at asking price, I'm still below 50% of the ARV. The last house I bought was at 62%. Why wouldn't I take something at 50?
For sure. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And then you can see right here with exactly what you got to do to that house to get to that same margin. So we got the blueprint right here. Here's what you got to do to it. This is the comp.
Exactly.
And they're also a buyer, right? Because they closed this house, which is a comp of our subject property, and it closed recently. So we've got a potential buyer in the same neighborhood who just closed a house that's exactly like ours.
And they bought this one for, what does that say? 200, 201?
201.
201 and sold it for 256.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I mean, that's a pretty thin margin there.
Yes, that's a tight one on that one. But who knows? Maybe it was, you can see the before photos as well.
Well, this was an off-market acquisition.
Oh, okay. That's right.
If it was purchased from the MLS, you would see.
Right.
But yeah.
But I mean,
Two Chicks
like
and a Hammer. That's that show. Have you heard of that show? I think HGTV, Two Chicks and a Hammer.
No, that's them.
Yep. This is them.
Wow. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Heck yeah. Two Chicks and a Hammer. I've never heard of that. That's on HGTV.
It's either A&E or HGTV.
One
it's
of
one
those
of those
ones.
Yeah.
Right. Man, that's awesome. I love it. I love it.
What'd you think, Luke? Right? I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's amazing. That's super cool.
Honestly, so I've been in this business a long time, and I used to, I was part of a company that I'm not part of, so I'm not going to put their brand out there. But I was a partner in that, and I had to go develop cities and hard money. And I used to have to go to the city, meet with agents, take them to lunch, tell them where the good parts is, the bad parts is, where the most fix and flips are. Yep. And then back then it was a very closed-minded business, right? There's like, I'm not going to give you all my knowledge and all my stuff that like more of like a shareable universe that we have now, is all close to the vest, but like, and in 15, 20 minutes, we just learned all we need to know about Indianapolis and flipping and virtual wholesaling. And
exactly.
And we can click around a city and go, oh, should I go to Indianapolis? Well, clearly that's a good spot. Obviously Benson's in St. Louis. You did Louisville, right? Is that what you said?
We were doing Louisville, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're also not in South Dakota. Was it South Dakota that had like just no comps around?
South Dakota.
No, South Dakota
was bad. Any of those northern states, there's just not much going on. But here's the thing: it doesn't mean you couldn't get a deal done there. And like, if you had a good reason, like maybe you got boots on the ground, a buddy of yours, like you did, Luke. Like that's one of the reasons why you went to Louisville is because you had somebody that was there. You can make it work. It's just for most people, it's opportunity cost. Every minute they're spending in one market is a minute they're not spending in another market.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Why spend your time in a market that's going to give you a low ROI as opposed to a market where you get better ROI, which is why you pulled out of Louisville after a year, right? Because you realized you could have spent that same amount of dollars in another market and got a better return on investment. The same thing applies with time.
Yep. No, that's 100% accurate. Because I mean, that's exactly what I was saying. You know, if we were doing 5 deals a month and they were averaging out to be, $7,000, okay, we were doing 35 grand. That's one deal in Arizona. And so it's like, if you're the way we were looking at it at the time was like, okay, you're doing 5 there, or if you're doing, let's just say you're even doing 3, 3 in Arizona, it's 3 times as much. It's blowing it out of the water. So.
Yeah. And most people, again, aren't doing this full time, right? So they got so little time to focus on their business.
Yes.
They need to be super focused on money making activities.
Yep.
Not running comps or, dialing everybody and waiting 6 months to finally get a hold of somebody after 13 phone calls.
Yeah.
Like that's why I like on market, honestly, is because it's low hanging fruit.
I get it.
They've already raised their hand. They said they want to sell. You know what price they want to sell at. You've got buyers in the area. Why not just match those two things up and get some, $5,000-$10,000 pops? It's not like what you're making, but you need to make that much because of how much you spend.
Exactly. We got marketing and a full team. No, exactly.
Right. And then so if you're just using a platform like Privy, then it's like, well, I don't need to make $30,000 on a deal. If I make 10 and I spent $1,000 on the software, like holy moly, like you just paid for the system for 10 years with one deal.
Exactly. No, 100%. So Benson, what is your kind of what do you charge for Privy? So everyone knows.
So it's $97 a month to month. There's no contracts or anything. And then I do, and I'll give you guys the same deal, or your audience. Yeah, we've got an annual plan that's discounted 20%. But I built a master class based off of my journey and going and starting in a new market. I basically just documented every step from me going and finding the market I want to actually putting boots on the ground and starting to write offers and close deals in St. Louis. So I'll give that course to anybody that wants to join for free. If they sign up for the annual plan at $930.
Right. Nice. That's awesome.
Cool. And then I don't know how I put it on Luke's YouTube page. I put the link down there, and then I'll put it on the Phoenix RIA and my Facebook page as well. For some reason it when I put the post comments, it goes out on your Facebook page for some reason. Probably something to stream here.
Sweet. I like it.
Yeah. Well, it's so from like an operator's perspective, right? You guys, doing deals, like what is like your initial impression of what I just showed you?
Oh, it's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, when you start thinking of like, if we ever were to go back the route of going virtual wholesaling again, it makes a ton of sense. Because it's like, exactly what you said. If you're going to these different cities, these different states where you know absolutely nothing about them, but you've heard good things, you heard that it could work here, you heard you could have good results here. This just puts you steps and steps ahead of where everyone else is at, because like you said, you have all these, these details at your fingertips, which again, when we started Louisville, we didn't have any of this. We played, I remember cold calling 10 agents and saying, hey, do you guys have any buyers, in Louisville, if we find properties that make sense? And they were all like, no. It's like, oh, okay. Sounds good.
They're like, I've closed 2 deals in the past 3 years. Like, why are you calling me?
Yeah, exactly. I know. So it's like, it takes the curve and it just cuts it in half. Not in half, cuts it more than in half.
Yeah. For me, it's so I'm starting a coaching program. So, part of the coaching is you're going to have your average student, and then you're going to have those couple all-star students, right? You're just going to, guys like Luke over there. He's an all-star student of Brent Daniels, right? student slash to boom, he's running, multiple cities and all that fun stuff. But yeah, same thing. I'm going to use the coaching program to, find the all-star student to leverage myself into other virtual markets. So, but then, I can go, oh, this student called me from this town. I probably don't want to go do that one because, the guy that calls me from Indianapolis, clearly a market that
this
is worth investigating. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it really opens your eyes up too. And, when I first started in St. Louis, I didn't think I was going to acquire and keep properties, but once I started getting in there and I bought a house for 40 grand and the ARV's 180 and all it needs is about 50, I'm like, man, I'm keeping this one. I'm not going to give this profit to somebody else.
Yeah,
for that low price point. Like, yeah, 40 grand, here you go, take it. And then I can go in there and clean it up and make it nice.
Yeah.
And then now I got an Airbnb that's bringing in, $90 a night, and I'm cash flowing. Like it makes
absolutely
it's kind of a no-brainer.
And then Benson, are you just burring the properties that you end up keeping?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Well, I guess it's a light burst. So the first one I bought on Cherokee, I got it for 150. The ARV is right around 290.
Okay.
And it needed a little bit of cleanup. All I did was fix the roof, do some, kind of tuck pointing, get it ready to go, and then put a closet in the back bedroom.
Yeah.
Not even really a burr. It was kind
just
of
clean
like
it
out
up,
of the
making
box.
it. Yeah. Heck yeah. Nice.
And then, but the other one, the one for 40, that one's going to be a full rehab for sure.
Right,
so that one will be a burr. But that wasn't my initial plan. So that's what's kind of cool is like, once you get in there, like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do that. Now I found partners. People started coming out of the woodwork. And I was like, wait a second. This guy's like, I called a buyer. And next thing you know, he's my contractor. He's like, oh, we got a contracting company too. I'm like, perfect.
There we go. Makes sense. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, cool. Benson, thank you for jumping on with us. We're trying to keep these kind of short, sweet, and
absolutely.
But so informative, and obviously great value. So
amazing.
Everybody, if they don't jump on and use Privy, if they're thinking about doing some virtual wholesaling, they're crazy. So
no doubt about it. You got me ready to jump back into it again. So here it comes.
Yeah, you got the staff, man. Just put one person on there, and I'll train them too, Luke. Just if you decide to do that, let me know, and I'll get them all trained up so they can be independent, just kind of operating in the silo and just bringing it in.
Well, like you said, the thing that I love about it is that okay, it's $1,000, right? So it's $1,000 for the year. Like you said, if you throw someone on that and you just have them seeking out MLS deals that look like they're going to make sense based on what properties are selling for in the area, you pull one of those, like you said, you pull one of those a month at a 10K. It pays, like you said, pays for it for 10 years. It's
right.
Cool.
One would, even if you only did one a month. But
right.
Right now I've got more than I can handle. Like I have a buyer problem right now. Like I'm finding buyers, but because of the market shift, fewer of them are buying now, and just kind of sit on the sideline, checking to see what happens. So that's, you just never know what's going to come up, but it's fun again. Like this is fun. It's literally like playing a video game. Like I feel like I'm playing my Xbox.
Yeah. I am playing my PlayStation. That's right here. See that? That's right.
There you go.
I told you.
This is what I do when I cold call.
I told you it's his forte. He's the cold caller, Madden guru.
I need to figure out a way to hook Privy up to like a controller, so like you could just use that and just kind of go around and use a controller to do it. That'd be slick.
I like it. Awesome. Well, Benson,
awesome. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. Someone just said, "Where's the link?" I'm going to jump on Facebook and add the links to all the Facebook groups, or all the Facebook group, and then to my page and all that fun stuff. So,
I put the link in the private chat for you, Chris, in case you didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw it. I just put it on the Facebook group because I don't know which. Luke, it's on your YouTube page, and
Correct.
I
And
just put it
Facebook.
on.
Yep.
Yeah, I just put it on the Phoenix RIA group, and then I'll put it on my personal. I don't know where it doesn't tell you, unfortunately, when you got 4 feeds going on, where the question comes from.
Right.
So
Sweet.
anyway, Benson, thanks for
Sounds
jumping
good.
on.
Yeah, appreciate it, Benson.
Yeah, thanks guys. It was fun. I appreciate you guys having me on, and looking to collaborate with you guys too. So, let me know I
Absolutely.
can help. Maybe we can do some deals together.
I love it. Let's do it.
Awesome.
All right, have a
All
great
right,
day.
guys.
Thanks so much. We'll
Take
talk
care.
soon.
See ya.
See ya.